Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Awaken to Your Soul Path. I am your host, Barbara, and today I'm joined by the wonderful Alara Sage, and we are going to be talking about how to have wealth as effortless as breathing. And I've been really looking forward to this topic because everybody wants to be more wealthy. Everybody wants to have more money. But for most people, it's turning out to be a real struggle. Lots of people struggle with money and with wealth creation. And then to have it as effortless as breathing, I think that there's something that everybody wants and is looking forward to. So if that is you, stay tuned. And Alara, thank you so much for being here and being a guest and coming to talk about this topic. I'm happy you're here.
Yay. Thank you for having me, Barbara. I'm thrilled to be here.
So, do you recognize what I said in the intro? Lots of people, I think, are struggling with wealth and wealth creation. Am I correct?
Absolutely. Yes. And, it's something that we have this weird relationship where we want it, and then simultaneously we have a lot of shame, a lot of unworthiness around it. So
Yeah.
there's this push-pull with wealth that humanity experiences very deeply in our psyche
Mhm.
and in our subconscious mind.
Yes. Exactly. What I saw with a lot of my clients, and to an extent also with myself before I worked on it, was that on the one hand, I wanted a shitload of money, but I felt bad saying it, like you would be
Mm.
judged by people, or that you would come across as greedy or grabby or just in it for the money, which wasn't true. But I didn't know how to express my desires in a way that it felt comfortable to me to express them.
Yes, absolutely. I went through the same thing, particularly when I came into my spiritual business
Mm.
specifically. There was this push-pull around. I just had this innate desire. I actually knew since I was a little girl that I was going to be very wealthy. Long before I really understood what it was, I had visions. And, when I came into my spiritual business, it was like this was back in, 2017, and the lingo in the online space was it was wrong to charge for spiritual mentorship,
Yeah.
that it should be free and you were basically materialistic and non-spiritual if you're a spiritual person charging for spiritual services. And so I had this innate desire in my heart not to experience it, like you said, from a state of materialism, but really from a state of what is not possible for humanity? What can we really expand into? What are our limits and how do we move through those limits? And to me, wealth is one of those facets that we get to play with of there's really no limit to our wealth. So why don't we play and expand? So on one hand, I saw it as this beautiful just exploration of potential and limitlessness in humanity. And then on the other side, there was all this shame.
Yeah.
And, it's just so wrong. And I can't do that. And if I do it, like you said, I'll be greedy and materialistic, even though I know that's not where the energy's coming from.
Yes, exactly. I saw that as well. It's like I had to justify that it was for good cause and not for greediness. Like I want a shit ton of money so that I can do a shit ton of good. And that
Yes.
is the reason why I want it, but I don't think you need to explain yourself. I think it should be perfectly normal to say, I don't want a shit ton of money. I just want it. And it doesn't matter what I want it for. I just want a shit ton of money. But when you say it like that and be unapologetic and unashamed, before you're able to say it like that, lots of, I call them rules, bullshit, beliefs, bullshit rules come up about worthiness, about if you can say stuff like that, limiting beliefs around these things, things that came from generations about saving or being frugal or all of those things that play in family karma.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love how you speak to that because it's true. What a lot of I found in the spiritual community were people saying, "Oh, I want lots of money so that I can help other people," which is beautiful and there's nothing wrong with that. But it has to come from like that's the reason, not you're saying that just as you said to justify it. And again, this really points to where we as humanity hold a great deal of shame.
Yes.
So, back in 2021, I had multiple six figures in the bank account. I had a six-figure business, my spiritual business, and then I had all my money stolen. And I went into debt for the first time in my life. And the Great Mother showed me, she took me through a dark night of the soul into these really core wounds that humanity carries around power, money, and sex. And they're all fundamentally the same because they're all associated with our ability to really tap into our creative life force energy, which is inexhaustible, which flows as fluid as our breath. But because we have these deep feelings of unshame, which lead to unworthiness, we have projected that out onto power, money, sex. If you are in a state of power, you must be evil, you must be self centered, you must be all these things, which, is a lot of the reflection of people that are in power.
See that a lot in
So there,
people. Yeah, with
yeah,
great
there's
power and lots of money. Yeah.
yes, there is truth to that, but and then same with, sex. This weird sex is the same thing. We like want it, we enjoy it. It's a part of our humanity, but it's
Don't
wrong
think
and
about it.
sinful and you should do it behind doors and don't talk about it. But yet
Don't
it's
enjoy it.
plastered all over the marketing. It's used for selling, but don't like be really expressive in it because that's wrong and sinful. So there's all these like double messages that are deeply confusing for humans. And what that does is it just clamps
Yes.
off this innate flow of abundance that we really are. And so
Mhm.
instead of experiencing wealth as effortless as breathing, we experience it as this force, this effort, this push pull. We get some, then it's all gone. All of the dysfunctions really rooted in that shame and unworthiness
Mhm.
that when we resolve, all of that just goes away. It doesn't matter that the matter, the physical reality ceases to matter because you're just worthy as you are, no matter what you do, no matter what you say. If you have sex, you don't have sex, you have lots of money, you don't have lots of money. It doesn't matter. Your worth exists in your existence beingness.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree with you. And this is something that they don't teach in school. So this is something that you either need to learn from your parents or you need to go looking for this information and teach it to yourself or find a mentor that teaches these things, these concepts to you. But what I also think plays a huge role in this is that because of the way we live and the way our society and our educational system works, we are also cut off from people call it God, source energy, the source of all things. We think we are a separate entity instead of tapping into the collective energy and knowing we are all connected and we are a part of the whole. So that I think also cuts you off from tapping into the wealth flow. Is that
Yeah, absolutely. That's really where shame and unworthiness comes from, is the belief of separation. All of human suffering is boiled down to the one and only belief that we are separate from creation, God, source.
yes.
And they all just show up in different fractals of expression. So yes, shame and unworthiness come from that. And there's been a lot of programming in our society purposefully for that. So the shame has been passed down, the unworthiness has been passed down so much that people can't even see that they're in it. They can't even see how their perceptions are creating their reality. One of the things I started teaching was it's your decision, it's your choice how you play with money specifically, because I consider wealth to be resource, not just money. But in
Mhm.
the conversation of money, it's your choice. You can receive money as greed, as, the evil, as something you have to do and you have to play with, but it's really just gross and disgusting. Or you can receive money as love and you can give money as love and you
Yes.
can play with money as if it's directly, because it is, the love from God, from source, from the creator. And
Mhm.
as soon as you hold that perspective and everything shifts around that perspective, that's how you experience love. So the understanding that when we see money as greedy is when we see it as, the bane of human existence, whatever it is, that's how you're going to experience it because you're literally creating your reality from that point of view. And therefore, you will perceive your reality through that same point of view.
Yes, all of this has to do with the law of attraction, but also the law of reciprocation, where like energy attracts like energy. So if you are feeling shame about your desires, your wants, and you are not believing in your capacity to attract everything that you want, then you are putting yourself in a lower vibration, which does not match the frequency or the vibration of the money or wealth that you want to attract into your life. Instead, you attract things that sort of solidify your beliefs that you're not worthy to receive it because the only thing you receive are bills or things like that. But it's actually an energetic exchange that's responsible for it. Because if you look at the frequency or the vibration of love and the frequency vibration of energy, they are the same.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of really healing our relationship to money and healing our relationship to power and healing our relationship to our sexual energy, which is creative life force energy.
Yes.
Because again, this is where so much of the shame exists that's just been passed down to us that we're not even necessarily aware that we have. And, when you were speaking to law of attraction, it's also, you literally cannot perceive things different than what your point of view is. So even if something is coming across the table for you that is in the energy of abundance or, in a different frequency, you will perceive it from the frequency that you're in. You'll perceive it as unworthy or lack or shameful or greed or whatever it is that you're in. So it's so powerful to recognize that just through your perception, just choosing how do I want to perceive money? How do I want to perceive receiving money? How do I want to perceive paying bills? Because I think one of the biggest things for, is like, well, taxes, right? And bills that we don't want to pay them. And I don't want to. Well, again, that's a point of view, that's a perspective. And you have the power to either pay your bills from a place of, spite
Hmm.
or pay them from a place of love.
Yes.
And there's, in that the paying the bills, the giving the money, the spending the money is a masculine frequency. You're literally penetrating your physical reality with energy. And then it comes back around for you to then receive.
Hmm.
So, do you want to be penetrating your physical reality with spite and greed and I hate this and fuck you and I don't want to pay this? Or do you want to be from a place of, I'm really grateful that I have this to pay, that I, whatever it is, live in a country that whatever it is, you can always find something to be grateful for. And then you send out that gratitude, you send out that love, and it comes back to you. And
Hmm.
it's the micro actions. People sometimes think that it's about sitting down and meditating and doing these things, but oftentimes it's the little micro actions. What are you doing when you receive the money? What are you doing when you're spending and paying the bills? Are you conscious? Are you connected? Are you doing that from a place of love? Or are you doing that from a place of scarcity, unworthiness? And that really matters. And that radically shifts people's realities just through those little micro movements.
Yes, exactly. I read Ken Honda's book and then I started to thank my money. So anytime I pay a bill, I say thank you, money, that you are allowing me to live here if I'm paying my mortgage or whatever it is for. Or when I receive money, to consciously thank the money for coming back and for coming back in. And it sounds weird, but it is those types of micro actions that make the difference. Because if you remember to meditate meditate once a day versus every time you spend something, every time you get something, every time someone else pays for you. And it's also an energy exchange, also a money exchange. And you stand still with that fact and express gratitude for it. It's a lot more powerful than meditating once a day.
Absolutely. Or, you're at the store, or you're somewhere and it comes through and you feel triggered like, oh, I wasn't planning on spending that amount, or, oh, that was more, or whatever it is in that moment, breathing into your body and choosing, do I want to react from a place of lack and unworthiness, or do I want to, in this moment, remind myself that truly I am infinite abundance and react from that place, respond from that place? Again, those little micro movements, because you can sit in meditation for hours, but if throughout your day you're reacting from scarcity and unworthiness, you're going to continue to create that no matter what your meditations are like.
Yes, exactly. And lots of people, they don't understand this. I think that this is also one of the fundamental reasons why, for lots of people, affirmations don't work.
Yes.
Yeah, you're trying to say to yourself, I am worthy, or I am loved, or I am rich, I am wealthy, things like that, or maybe different types of affirmations for yourself. But if the rest of your day, your actions contradict that, then the things that you're saying are not really going to make a dent in all the actions that you're doing that tell the other side of the story. And then you start losing your trust, your faith in the spiritual practices, thinking they don't work for me. And to a degree, you're right, but you don't understand the mechanism behind it.
Yes, because there's a difference between just doing the practices and embodying the frequency, embodying the state of being, right? So the embodiment of wealth is that all of your actions are in that frequency of wealth. So I always teach my clients, who is, because I work primarily with women, who is she that is embodied in this inexhaustible wealth? And
Yeah.
you really connect to her. And in those moments where, again, there's that contraction or that trigger, you ask yourself, how would she respond to this? What would she do? How would she feel in her body? And again, those moments are where we're bringing that frequency and that feeling, that sense, that emotion into the body, and we're actually programming ourselves at a biological level, right, with those emotions. And now we're embodying wealth. It's not just a concept. It's so much of spirituality remains conceptual. And that's really the difference between understanding and knowing all of the beautiful concepts of spirituality and living an embodied state.
Yes, yes, I agree. I see this with a lot of the clients that come through me as being, well, amongst the top issues that are happening. And another thing that I see, and I'd love your take on it, is I see that a lot of people, they don't love themselves. And I think that this also directly ties into it because love and money are on the same frequency. So if you have trouble loving yourself, I think it's also really difficult to call in your wealth, right?
Absolutely, because again, love and unworthiness and shame, all of these are the same thing. So when we don't love ourselves, we're generally feeling we're unworthy. There's some level of shame. Shame is a diabolical frequency. It's next to death.
Yes.
That's how low it is. It's below apathy. It's below everything. And it's such a hidden frequency that people don't realize that it's the shame around their bodies, the shame of their little girl, who what they did when they were younger and they got in trouble for it, and the shame of all these things that exist in their subconscious mind that then they're constantly projecting out into everything. And shame absolutely does not create wealth.
No, no, you're absolutely right. So, if you are watching and you are following our conversation, we would love to hear from you. Maybe you have a question for Alara. Maybe you want to share your story, things that you've experienced. We would love to hear from you. So, leave us a comment. But I can also imagine that if you're actively going through this and you are trying to create wealth for yourself and it's just, it's not working. where would people start to change that? What would be a good way of moving towards the effortlessness of calling it in?
Yes. The effortlessness I really equate to the breathing because breathing occurs, right? Whether we're paying attention to it or not. Now, you can definitely learn to breathe not as effectively as our natural belly breathing, nice, slow, deep breaths. But the breathing just continues forward. This is equal to your worth. Your worth is there always, and you don't have to do anything to make it happen. So I like to break it down for people because consciousness is always a trinity:
Mhm,
the mother, the father, the child. And so when you're struggling with money, you want to look at where are you having the most resistance? Is it receiving, which is the inhalation, which is the feminine energy?
mhm,
Is it the spending? Maybe you find yourself spending money when you have it. Like as soon as it comes in, you spend it, right? Or you buy things that you didn't really want. Or even the subconscious spending where money comes in and, oh, look, all these bills appear out of nowhere and I have such bad luck, right?
mhm.
Or is it the holding, right? The child is the neutral frequency. This is the power to hold money, to be able to invest it, to be able just to have savings, all of that. And so they can start with one of those. That makes it more simple. And really understand with, the feminine, with it all basically comes down to safety, but the feminine ability to receive, you can begin with where haven't you felt safe to receive? So safe to receive love, safe to receive, um, feedback, right? Safe to receive compliments. There's a lot of women that cannot truly receive a compliment. I
Oh, I used
couldn't.
to be one.
Years ago, I used to just deflect it. I would say things like when somebody was like, "Oh, I like your dress," I'd be like, "Oh, I got it for really cheap." Like, what is that? Like, what
Yeah,
kind of
I
a
wasn't
comment
saying
is
what
that?
demon. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, or they immediately want to throw it right back at the other person, right? They can't just receive the compliment, right? Like, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I love your whatever too, right? So that ability to really look at your relationship with receiving. What does it feel like in your body when somebody compliments you? What does it feel like in your body when large quantities of money, if you had an idea about, receiving $100,000 in one fell swoop, what would you feel in your body? I always work somatically because our body holds all the wisdom. Same thing with if you are one of the people, like I used to do it too. I would get money and I would just go spend it, and half the time I didn't even like, I would get the stuff and I'd be like, I don't even want any of this stuff, but it was a subconscious way of getting it out of my space. I needed to get it out of my body, get it out of my space. So
Mhm.
it's a similar thing of, where you don't feel like that holding on to money and being purposeful with your actions. Purposeful. This also goes a lot with people who want to just constantly do all the time because they're anxious, and all they know to do with their anxious energy is just do all the time. These people will find themselves often throwing out lots of money because they just don't know how to hold energy in their body. So it's about slowing down,
Yeah.
becoming more precise and in connection with all of that. And then holding holding is very similar to that. Can you just have large amounts of money in your bank account? Everybody has a limit. They have kind of a point, a ceiling, where they'll just, if they get more money than that, usually bills will arrive and it'll drop them back down to whatever that is, or even if it's a negative number. And that's how much quote unquote creative life force energy they are willing to hold in their body. So all of this really stems from, again, unworthiness and a sense of safety.
Yes. Yes, and it's always interesting to look at where does that come from? Does it really come from you? Did you see it in your parents and did you subconsciously take it over? Is it already programmed in your DNA? Have you seen those?
Yeah. What's up?
Have you seen those differences? Where it comes from?
I mean, it's deeply rooted in humanity in general. Um, if we're speaking to money specifically, then yes, it can come, from our ancestral lineage. I see a lot of it karmically as well. Wealth expands the conversation a little bit differently, because people can have lots of money and still be unworthy.
Hmm.
it
Yeah.
it's and to me, wealth is effortless of breathing is really tapped into a much grander source. It's tapped into source. This
Hmm.
is where we're not forcing, we're not hustling. There's not like I have to do this in order to get. Again, that worthiness exists. And from the worthiness, we're creating and we're doing and we're playing and we're living life versus a lot of money and people who have lots of money right now in humanity are created from this quote unquote ambition that's all rooted in unworthiness. So, yeah, you can have lots and lots of money. You can be super wealthy, or excuse me, rich, and be unworthy and not in love with yourself and unfulfilled. And that's really, I find, just deeply ingrained in humanity across the board.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Yes, yes. And uh, I was having a question and now I lost it. Don't you love when that happens? Yes. So it starts, I think, then with healing those parts of yourself that feel unworthy and that feel unloved.
Absolutely. Yes.
And there are different ways of going about doing that. There are different modalities, different techniques, different ways of learning it. So if you're watching, if you're listening, I would encourage you to go out and explore which way fits you the best because it's not a one size fits all. It's not that everything works for everybody, and not everybody who offers to help you with this would be a right fit energetically.
Yes. And the other thing is, I really am here for the movement that we are here to create wealth in a completely new way. So again, instead of this hustle and this grind, we're here, those of us who are doing this work, to create wealth in communion with life, which is aliveness. And I have this thing called the Wealth Kink Quiz. I created 5 different blueprints: energetic, sensual, dynamic, kinky, and shapeshifter. And it really helps you identify your blueprint of how you play with wealth naturally.
Mhm.
So I think it's always a combination of doing the shadow work and addressing the shame and the unworthiness and the love, as well as connecting to how that river of abundance really naturally flows for you. So that as you identify with that, you can start to bring that into your life. And that alone makes really big shifts. Like I had a client who she was a bookkeeper and she recognized that she was a dynamic, and dynamics really like to have projects, and their wealth comes through like, okay, I'm going to do this thing, and then there's an end and they're completed it, and
Mhm.
they really get off on that, and that's their aliveness. And so she, and through that quiz, she recognized, oh my gosh, I've always preferred to do like, people come to me with, they've got books that are a mess, and then I tackle this project. But she had, as she taken on this business, started to have people where she's just monthly doing their books, but that doesn't align to her dynamic archetype at all. So this just gave her permission, like, oh, this is really what I do like to do. I do like to chunk off these projects. I want to like fix their mess. And it's amazing just how much easier wealth flowed for her. She was able to raise her prices. It was very effortless for her than before when she was starting to go down this road of like, oh, I'll be your monthly bookkeeper.
Yeah. Yes, I get that. Yes, it's a beautiful journey because in the end, what I notice with myself is the more I relax, the more I enjoy life, the more I don't get riled up by anything, the more I appreciate the little things, the more time I spend in nature, the more I take good care of myself and just strive to be as happy as I can be in every moment. Everything becomes effortless. Living, your job, life, wealth, all of it.
Yes, I say that we're going to see that spaciousness is the new wealth. We used to like live by this badge of honor that I'm so busy, I don't have
Yes.
time, I'm so busy. And those who were so busy, they were seen as successful. And that's just not true anymore. And those of us now who are like, oh, I'm spending my days out in Mother Gaia, I'm spending my days with friends. I'm like, oh, what about your business? Oh, yeah, I worked on it maybe an hour or so.
Yeah.
This is the new way because we recognize again that wealth isn't coming from I have to do all these things in order to get the wealth is innately there and I just get to simply enjoy it. And it's a high level teaching. And
Mhm.
so for those who are listening, I always like to say, you got to bite off one little bit at a time.
Yes, exactly. Step by step, even baby steps get you moving in the right direction. And I think it's also an unrealistic expectation to expect from yourself that by tomorrow you've mastered everything and you will be an expert at it.
Especially these things that have really been in our society for a long time. I work with a lot of female entrepreneurs, and it's just how we've done business is you get the strategy and you do the thing, and if it's not working you find another strategy, and oh, what happened to your intuition? Oh, right, okay, and we'll follow your intuition. Okay, well, my intuition's saying this, but my mind's telling me all of this, and this is what all the business gurus and all of this are saying. And it's like, well, your intuition is 100% unique for you. Follow that. But we just haven't been taught. So we're really relearning. It's like, when somebody gets a brain injury and they have to relearn how to walk all over again. It's basically what we're doing. So it's really, massive transformation. This isn't small stuff. And it's really important, again, for the audience to hear that. Because as you said, this isn't something that just happens overnight.
No, you basically have to relearn how to live your life the best way possible.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
that also means actively unlearning a lot of things that you learned in the past about the way life is supposed to go, or the way your life is supposed to be, or the things that are expected of you, and where you need to be prepared for uncomfortableness, prepared for things that you absolutely don't like, prepared to be very brutally honest with yourself, and maybe even discovering things about yourself that you think, oh, this is not so great. But stick with it in order to go through these transformations because you believe in the possible outcome of it.
Yes. And I love how you say it's unlearning because that's actually even harder, you
Yes.
know? And then meanwhile, maybe your friends and maybe your family or the people around you aren't trying these new things. So you're the one that's out of the box or you're the one that's different. And so all of this is very, yeah, it's very, very challenging. And it's that consistency, discipline is devotion in motion. And when we stay devoted, we stay disciplined to this process, it has no choice, as we know in quantum physics, it has no choice but to go there and
Yes.
evolve there. It may be very, very quick, it may be very, very slow. It's not really about the time, it's about the journey. And there isn't a destination anyway. So you might as well just enjoy the process.
Yes. Yes, I'm very literally going to do that. At the end of this month, my house is sold, and I'm going to go in an RV and I'm going to RV around. And that is also not with an end destination. So some people say, oh, then you will pay a lot of money for the toll roads. And I think, well, I'm trying to avoid the toll roads because I don't have to be anywhere quick. I just want to see as many beautiful places and things along the way, and I roughly have an idea where I want to go, but it can also change in the moment when I think, oh, I'd rather go there. It's being in the moment, being flexible, enjoying the journey, enjoying everything in that moment, feeling rich already in the moment that you're living, even if your bank account doesn't reflect the amount of money that you would like it to have.
Yes, because wealth is resource, not just money.
Exactly.
And when we open up to those channels, we find that it's amazing when we really let go of the control, how
Mhm.
deeply supported we actually are. It just makes me laugh, Barbara, when you say that everybody talks about the toll roads. Like, here you are doing this beautiful thing, and they're like, oh, watch out for those toll roads. It's like, who cares? Who cares? Who
Yes.
cares if you spend lots of money on toll roads? Who cares? It's money well spent. Enjoy it. And if you don't spend any money on toll roads, fantastic. Like, it just doesn't matter. It's just money. It's really irrelevant when we're really considering enjoying our lives to their fullest.
Yes, exactly. So that still well talks to the limitations of the people that are talking about the toll roads. But yes, it's enjoying the little things. I remembered that I also really could enjoy and still do. I try to make an effort to every day see the sun go down, the sunset, because I love the way the sky colors, and I every sunset is different, and then I can feel so incredibly rich that I got to see this beautiful sunset again today. And it's
Mm.
free, it doesn't cost anything, but it's a form of wealth for me.
Yeah, I mean, the sunsets and the sunrises are just like the inhales and the exhales, aren't they? They just keep going. And we have the choice of whether we slow down and pay attention to them, or we just let them just go in the distance and we're not paying any attention to them.
Yes. And most people go through life sort of with blinders on. They're so focused on the goal, on the destination, that they forget to smell the roses and enjoy the sunsets and just be in the moment, because they're always busy with the next moment and the next moment and the next moment, which is chasing something. And you're probably never going to reach it. And even if you do, oftentimes people don't really want the thing when they reach it. It doesn't bring them the things that they hoped for.
Yeah, and I actually find most people are very shut down. So the blinders are a level of disassociation
Mhm.
because, again, we harbor a lot of shame. I was very shut down. I had a spontaneous Kundalini awakening where energy shot through my body as I was driving down the car or driving down the road, and I went into a full body orgasm, something I'd never even experienced in sex, alone driving my car down the road. And it awoke me to how shut down I was, how numb I was. And because of my very personal relationship to it, and my mother is very, very shut down still, I really see the large, 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 large majority of people, that level of shame and unworthiness, it's just so very painful. It's a very, very deep pain that if you don't understand how to look at it and how to be with it, it hurts.
Yes.
And so, what we learn to do is to disassociate from it, disconnect from it, disconnect from our bodies. And, this is very proven in physiology. Our nervous systems shift into, freeze and fawn, and your pain tolerance goes up. You don't feel pain, you don't feel pleasure, you don't feel anything. And so you're kind of going through life, you know, trying to live it and you think you're living it, but where is the aliveness? Where is the immense joy and love and sensation? Because life is sensational.
Yes.
And yet, if we are in these altered states of our nervous system, that's not how we live it. And yet we we don't even know. I was so unaware of how numb I was
Mhm.
until I was shot open.
Yes. Yeah, I believe that always something like that needs to happen, something big, something life-shattering, not earth-shattering, but life-shattering, so that you sort of crack open to either allow something out or to allow something in, or maybe both. I think stuff needs to go out and stuff needs to come in. And so you need to be cracked open in order for that to happen. And that usually takes a big event. Yes.
Mm.
So we are nearing the end of our episode, and I think we touched upon some really great things. So if you're watching and if you're listening, we would love to know what is your biggest insight out of our talk today. Leave us a comment. But what would be a last message or a last tip that you would like to give to our listeners today?
Well, going back to our topic of wealth is effortless as breathing, again, whenever you feel like that tightness or that constriction of not having wealth, just bring your awareness back to your breath and just effortlessly feel how your breath comes in, it goes out, it pauses, it comes in, it goes out, it pauses. As soon as you bring your awareness to your breath, for one, your nervous system shifts or is invited to shift. You connect your subconscious and conscious minds. You connect your subtle and gross bodies. You connect. You connect not just to, your experience and your challenges, you connect to all that you are. And so, just by coming back to your breath in that very moment, you let yourself remember more of who you are. And again, that can create massive shifts. Every time you do that, just pause, breathe.
I love that. I hope you loved this talk as much as I did. I thank you for being here, watcher, listener, and for your undying support for this channel. If you are new here, I would love it if you would subscribe and maybe hit the notification bell so that you will never miss another episode again. I can also imagine that you think, oh, I love Alara and I love her energy and I'm so done with everything and I want to work on it. Where can I find her? So, where can people find you, Alara? How can they best connect with you?
Absolutely. So my website, alarasage.com, and that's where that wealth kink quiz is that they can take and find out that blueprint of how wealth naturally flows through them. I'm also on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, Substack, Alara Sage.
Nice. I will make sure that the links that Alara wants to share are also included in the show notes below this video. If you want to connect with me, that is also always possible. So my links will also be in there. So please don't hesitate if you feel resonance with our energy to reach out to us. We would both be more than happy to talk to you and to help you out if you feel cold. And for today, yeah, thank you, Alara, for being here. This was an amazing talk and I loved everything about it.
Yes, such delight, my love. Thank you.
There you have it. This is our talk about wealth as effortless as breathing. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to inspiring you with another beautiful guest in next week's episode. For today, I wish everybody an amazing rest of your day.